Hey everyone, it's Damien, Sleepy Reader. I am here with a more personal than usual video. May only be interesting to a certain segment of my regular viewers who maybe have known me for a while and know a bit about my history and may find it interesting or may not. I don't know if this is going to be interesting to anyone. But basically, I got a box full of comics that I think I stored away in my mom's attic in 1978, and she mailed it to me just before, or just after selling her house actually, but she grabbed it out of the house shortly before selling it and mailed it to me. And also included in that box was some of my artwork that I did as a kid, and as best I can figure out, this is a smattering of my artwork that I did between the ages of probably 12 to 14 or 15, possibly 11, I don't know. Imitating drawings in comics started with me right from the beginning. The very first comic I ever got, Avengers 93, I started trying to imitate some of the Neil Adams drawings in there. And I have strong memories of a bunch of artwork I did, or attempts at comic book type artwork that I did as a kid. And oddly, these were not them. Like, I was expecting, when I saw art, I was expecting I had all these things in my head. These were other things that I'd forgotten I'd done. But when I saw them, I completely recognized them. Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember this. I remember that. So it really took me back, and I'm not at all trying to show off or anything like that, because I think all the art was purely, or almost all the art that you'll see here is purely imitative, and it just shows how into comics I was and how much time I spent on it, and kind of pleases me that I have not misremembered. You know, did I create this false myth of my obsession with comics? But so to me, that's the strongest part, and also just kind of curious for me to use this video to take a look at what I did, or some of what I did, because as I say, a lot of stuff I was expecting to see there was not there. I wish there was another box that my mom would turn up, but I guess now the house is sold, that seems unlikely. But fingers crossed. And also, so this is a big indulgence in an old man's nostalgia and searching for that past that suddenly he's so much more interested in as I hit my late 50s, my very late 50s. And I think for a lot of us, nostalgia serves a bunch of purposes, but one, we start asking, who was I, who am I? And this is a little bit of that. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll take a look at what I found. All right, here, I'm not even sure what to say about any of this. Here is the stack of artwork that I found, that I got in that box, along with the comics. And the only one that's dated 1974 is this one, The Leopard. I wonder, I'm sure I was copying something here, and you can see how far off the anatomy is and stuff, and my understanding of muscles is purely from looking at the comic books themselves and trying to imitate them. Anyway, it's kind of a visually striking one. So there's that. Oh, there's something on the back here. What's this? Deep in the Night at Camp Kewanee. 3 mad counselors. I went to Camp Kewanee, I guess, in 1974. That's the year that's the camp where my grandmother sent me copies of Savage Sword of Conan #1 and Planet of the Apes #1. That's how I remember that camp. Interesting. So maybe could I have drawn this at Camp Kewanee, perhaps, the summer of 74, probably shortly before I turned 13. And this one says 1975. I feel like I drew this while we were living in Geneva, Switzerland, the year we were living there. I have a feeling a lot of these drawings come from that. Maybe I had more free time on my hands the year we were living in Switzerland, maybe especially before I made many new friends at the international school that I was going to. So I don't immediately know what inspired this. Obviously some science fiction comic, maybe something I was reading in one of those black and white science fiction comics. I'm not sure. And here you can see I'm trying to do a Shang-Chi-like character. But, I don't know, doesn't look like Shang-Chi, but I'm pretty sure that's what I was trying to do. 1975. So I'd say in 75 I was 13 and 14. I mean, my birthday's in the middle of the year. I don't know if this one's from 75, but since I was obsessed by monsters then, maybe it was. Must have been imitating some, perhaps Don Perlin or Mike Plug werewolf image that I found. Part of me is thinking was a better artist back then than I am now. And I was obsessed with Planet of the Apes, thanks to my grandmother sending me Planet of the Apes #1. And I remember spending a lot of time trying to figure out how Mike Plug drew the apes in Planet of the Apes, because I loved that initial original storyline of In the Apes magazine with Mike Plug. And so this is a very successful result. But I know I drew lots and lots and lots of apes, but this seems to be the main survivor. And I was very into the monster magazines. Monsters on the Loose. Let's see, maybe that's like Dead Man there, Werewolf. I'm not sure what that is. Or those. And a little vampire bat. Did perhaps this comic strip was part of Monsters on the Loose? A mad scientist creates a monster with a beam, of course. No. In mere moments, I will transform this puny man into the most powerful being ever. The transformation begins. Rawr. And look at that wonderful change. What? He's escaping. I've miscalculated. Gru. No, goodbye, mad scientist. The monster breaks out on the public. Growl. Was I inspired by the Brute? Maybe? I don't know. And of course the Hulk. This can't be real. Help. So he kills a lot of people apparently. I wonder if it went on beyond these 3 pages too. I hope that stops it. The bullets only made it angry. Nothing can stop it. It keeps on growing. So, yeah. There was a 1975. I was playing around with some gray shading with my pencil. And here, I'm not sure what the inspiration here was. Was I seeing some, what's the guy's name? Basil Wolverton drawings? Maybe that inspired this. Especially this one. That looks very Basil Wolverton-ish to me. Yeah. Not sure what might have inspired that. Kind of looks like Jack Kirby now that I think about it, in space. And here's some random monster drawings. Again, I don't know if these were from 75 or not. I just grouped them with the 75 ones. Help! And then, as you'll see, I was super obsessed by Sword and Sorcery. And here, I read about in some fanzines, but never actually saw portfolios of like Barry Windsor Smith art or Mike Kaluta art or what have you. So I thought I would make my own portfolio, obviously. And whether I made anything that fit inside here, I don't know. Or maybe I miscalculated and it was too small to fit a regular piece of paper. And I put helmets as eyes, or dots on my eyes. I like the bi. This is a direct swipe from a drawing inside, what issue of Conan is it? It's the one with Elric in it. So it might be, I don't know, number 14 or something like that. And that was one of the few Barry Smith issues I owned as a kid, and I spent a lot of time poring over it and trying to imitate it. I can see there was a lot I didn't understand about what was going on with the muscles, but some that I picked up correctly, like the rib cages and stuff. And here we go with a color barbarian. This actually would fit. I think that might fit in there, possibly. And Now, what about all this savagery and blood appeals to a 13 and 14-year-old boy? I can't explain the psychology of it. More group of barbarians grinning. Are they about to get into trouble? What did I even know? What did I even understand about the kind of trouble that Conan and friends used to get into? I don't think I really understood it very well. That seems more. This looks more Jack Kirby-ish in a way. And back to trying to do a horror comic, Hunter in the Dark. This has a nice attempt at sort of strong graphics, even if my drawing skills aren't that strong. Say bye-bye, bloodsucker. This is your last full moon. What? But that's... I don't know if I did more pages. I wrote page 1, but that's the only page I've got. Another monster sketch. Is that a werewolf or just some demon kind of thing? Oh, here. Now this, I know that this came from a bearded face, either in a Thor comic or a Fantastic Four comic by John Buscema. I remember imitating that face. And then I didn't do as good a job at imitating the hands. And obviously I'd been reading Jack Kirby's New Gods too, because I have gathered you 5 together to save the Earth. Yes, the Earth, your planet, is about to be invaded, so I have chosen you 5 to become the Guardians. You all have powers beyond those of normal humans. Therefore, you are the ones who must stop the attacks from Darkrid. Part 1. And I guess this is another page from it. Darkrid, that's the name, I guess it's page 2. That's the name of the planet the invaders are coming from. Their leader is the cruel and powerful Shad. Shad has raised many armies to conquer Earth. He has great powers. But you will not be without help, for Shad has made enemies too. And what about you? Who are you? You may think of me as the Overseer. I go. None of this makes sense. Maybe we will know soon. What? I like to have people say, what? So I guess this is some demon of Shads coming to attack them. But if I did any more of that comic, we'll never know. Another barbarian, and me playing around with backgrounds. That's kind of interesting. Again, very sort of Barry Smith, maybe with a little bit of Conan. I know that I spent a lot of time imitating or trying to closely imitate Neil Adams, Jack Kirby, Barry Smith, Sal and John Buscema. So those were the people that I was trying to rip off. And Mike Ploog. Again, the Planet of the Apes. It doesn't look that much like Mike Ploog here, but I'm pretty sure that's what I was drawing this picture of. It also kind of looks like one of the covers of Planet of the Apes, the composition of the picture. Oh, and then I went through a big Jim Starlin phase, and I know that this is some kind of ripoff of some Jim Starlin panels, maybe in Captain Marvel. Yeah. Is there a date on here, or I just guessed it was 75? Looks like I wrote my name in there, right there, but no date. Another barbarian. Now we're into 76. I was living in Switzerland, in Geneva, for a full year of the 75-76 school year. And then after that, I was sent off to a Catholic boarding school in Rhode Island, Connecticut, which I hated. I don't know if I did these kinds of drawings there, or I assume this was done in Switzerland. So again, I guess I'm playing with ways to shade things, probably getting ideas from black and white magazine comics, and obviously this is unfinished. There's just a head floating there. I'm sure I had other plans. Unfinished art seems to be the main game of me, young Damien. This is interesting, 1976. Spike, I think I imagined some kind of, I think I was not, here we're looking at something where I am trying to be Jim Steranko, I'm guessing. But there might have been some other influence going on here. And I probably imagined I was going to do a whole endless series of comic books about Spike, but I did not. And this looks like a unfinished splash page for some kind of story. I don't think that relates to the... It does have kind of a Jim Starlin look to me. I feel like I must have been imitating some pose from some real splash page. And it would have been called Madman in the Streets. So it looked... Was I inking? Yeah, I was inking with a ballpoint pen, and I must have been at least doing some drawing in pencil first. Interesting. Another barbarian. This must have been taped up on the wall somewhere. Maybe I did this at boarding school and taped it up on my wall. Or maybe this... Oh, yeah. Damien Kilby, 77. So this would be when I was 15 and I was in boarding school, I guess. Unless I was at home on a visit. I guess... in some ways, it's not as good as the stuff I was doing the year before, or not as intense, but there's maybe a little more fluidness and confidence to it. I don't know. I'm not going to critique my own work that much. Another comic book that began and never went very far. Are you ready to journey into the world of the lost? Now I was maybe inking with a rapidograph over pencils. So I never finished it. And this looks very Jim Steranko. I don't remember having very many Jim Steranko comics, because by the time I got into comics, he was just doing covers, but maybe I found one or two. I did have Jim Steranko's History of the Comics, Volume 2, and I remember spending a lot of time looking at the few Steranko drawings at the back of the book a lot. And I got Foom while Steranko was editing it. You've gotten this far, O'Neill, but with one push of a button, you will be sent on a one-way trip. What may seem excitement and adventure to the common man is everyday work for an agent of WSP. WSP. Weird. I wish I knew what story I'd imagined here. It looks kind of interesting. I think this will be another barbarian. Yep. Another unfinished barbarian story, or splash page, part of it inked. I think the fun of the barbarians often, you know how boys often like to draw complicated pictures full of guys fighting. I used to do even stick figure soldiers in huge battles. So I'm sure this was an imitation of some drawing pose by John Buscema or someone else, some Conan pose. Trying to figure out where all those muscles go. I think Jim Steranko misled me quite a bit. And another comic, and I can tell just at a glance that this was influenced by some splash page, some artwork by Rich Buckler. The hero of our story is a man called the Smasher. My targets are near. Wow, I'm a better letterer then than I am now. Soon I will bring death and destruction. The master's command shall be obeyed. And the title is Mission Destroy. I like the way I did those boots and stuff. But I'm sure it's all very much an imitation of something Rich Buckler did. Oh yeah, there's a classic set of... This is probably drawn from a Deathlock comic, I'm guessing. I've come to kill you all. What the... Guards, call the guards. I must kill everyone. Kill, kill. Did someone call us? Oh my God. Oh, and this is as far as I got. So, 2.5 pages, that's better than some of these. Death, get that maniac. That's exactly what we're doing. Boy, was it hard to draw these guns. Obviously, I erased it several times. I'm sure that all of these poses come straight out of some Deathlock scene. Here's me getting... Oh! So I guess I got these, I thought I separated all the 76s from the 77s, etc., but here's 76 again. Now this is kind of cool. I think I'm probably not imitating anything specifically here and just experimenting. And those of you familiar with, I think it's Savage Sword of Conan number 10 maybe, will recognize this pose from the cover. So I was clearly trying to imitate that. Oh, there's stuff on the back too. Oh, and that's the pose, I think, of Khazar on the cover of one of the Savage Tales from a Neil Adams painting. That's a pretty good imitation of it. Huh. So that was probably 77, and now we're somehow back to 76. Some kind of Conan versus a giant, or, sword and sorcery guy versus a giant. Not sure what this looks. Paul Galassi influenced, perhaps, just at a guess. Here's me, and I don't really know what year this is, imitating a lot of up the nose drawings, trying to figure that out. I think I'm guessing that's the big thing going on here, how to do the noses. Some more little sketches back there. More Conan-ish stuff from 76. Is that an imitation of Sterenko's way of drawing Talon? I'm not sure. Or just a bunch of different things I combined. Mostly for me, it's the intensity of my interest in comics that I see here so confirmed, as I mentioned earlier. Was this an imitation of something, or did I come up with that myself? Conan versus some monsters in the snow. Kind of a cool effect, I'm sure. There was something I was imitating there. This looks like some sci-fi fantasy cover that I was maybe imitating. I don't know. Or maybe I made it up myself somewhat. And weird how there's a little face on the tree or whatever that is there. And I probably saw the kind of thing where they did in comics where they would just darken a crotch of a naked monster. It's all shadow. And I think I had in mind that I wanted to do a long series of science fiction comics in the vein of Perry Rodin or something, but I'm not sure if this is what this was. At the far end of the galaxy, comes a spaceship traveling at the speed of light, followed by another. The first spaceship breaks into orbit and makes a landing on Droon, part 1. Oh wait, this is 75, I think, so this is earlier than most of what we've been looking at. Was there more of this Droon, landing on Droon? I feel like there was. I feel like I drew at least a few more pages. Here I'm coloring with colored pencils. This is hard to see, but I'm trying to do realistic faces. Where I got the faces from, I don't know. Huh. I'm guessing in part this was the Paul Galassi thing going on. Not sure what. That one didn't work proportionally too well. More barbarians from 76. The feathering, of course. I don't know if you drew as a kid, you get very interested in how they do the feathering in the art. And these are interesting. I don't know when they were from, but two images where I just completely, it looks like I traced them, but I couldn't have had the ability to trace onto regular paper. but these are images from Omega the Unknown. So whatever year Omega the Unknown came out, unless I found those as back issues. So these are probably Jim Mooney drawings that I was imitating very slavishly, but with some good results. What's going on there? And on the back, some weird cartoony faces. Ooh, don't get mesmerized. Okay, and so in 1977, the one good thing at this Catholic prep school was there was a retired commercial artist who taught a art class, and he had gone to the Rhode Island School of Design, if I remember correctly. I remember him talking about that. But he introduced us to working with real models, and I didn't even remember learning this technique this long ago, but that use of kind of smearing your charcoal and rubbing with your eraser and possibly putting some white pastel into it to create different tones in a face. So this is a kind of drawing I did a lot of in my 20s, but I didn't realize I'd learned it back when I was 15. And also from 77, so presumably when I was 15, possibly 16, but I think what's that? Someone's phone number. Okay, now this is interesting. At some point, I don't know if I did these all at the same time, I decided that I was clever enough and a good enough artist to work for the New Yorker and do those spot cartoons they have. And this was the joke I thought was my very best, most hilarious one. And so I drew it twice, apparently. And the joke is, does this mean we have to stay for dinner? Because they're tied up by the natives. I suppose this would be considered racist now or something. But there was the whole cliche of people caught by natives and put into cauldrons, usually, to be cooked. I'm surprised I didn't do that, but I thought it was clever. This must have been my final version. And this must have been a rougher draft. So I actually sent these to the New Yorker, and they just sent them right back. I never got any comments or anything. And this I just thought was funny. Somehow I thought this was funny. A completely, ectomorph, a completely non-muscular guy surrounded by these body beautiful guys. I thought maybe the New Yorker would like that. And then this joke was the guy is leashed to his dog, and his dog is leashed to him, and he says, I believe in equality between him and the dog. And this guy in the foreground thinks he's nuts. And my clever economic, this was art-wise maybe the best thing in these cartoons. The price of comic books and candy skyrocketing up, while my allowance is just a fragile balloon floating at about the same level. In 1977, what were comics by then? Were they going from 30 to 35 cents or something maybe? And I'm assuming this is from 77 since it looks more like a study of a hand and a study of a box. And this looks like something where I might have been imitating a drawing, or I might have had a photograph that I was trying to draw here. And I don't know when this was, but I was obviously practicing different angles on heads. Getting the ears in the right place, I remember, was something that took me a long time to figure out. And there's something else, a knight with his helmet off. This is a picture that's hard to make out, but it must have been some either kids at school, at the boarding school, or at home, some members of my family on a couch scrunched up together reading. That could well be my brother and my sister, I don't know. So now we're getting away from doing comics to some life drawing. It's thanks to that art teacher. But here's still and I don't know when this was done. I just put it in the pile here because it was undated. It somehow, something about the way it's drawn seems like later on to me. It looks like I was drawing lines maybe for where the nose and eyes should be and stuff. Maybe. and I was experimenting with, faces not seen straight on or in profile. This is undated too, but maybe this goes back to those 75, 76 drawings with the, I'm sure if you look through Savage Sword of Conan, you'll find some drawing piece here that I'm imitating. They had all those front piece drawings and stuff, and I'm guessing I was imitating that. It does seem like maybe it's later because I'm not overdoing the muscles too much. I still don't get muscles right in legs, but I seem to be doing a lot better with arms and chests. It was only a long time later that I really learned how to draw, in drawing, how important it is to put in the collarbone. More of that light and dark drawing from life, or possibly drawing from life. Because these don't look drawn from life. Huh. But playing with different mediums and stuff like that. I almost wonder if this was like from a photograph of Henry Kissinger, because you would find his image in magazines and stuff everywhere, or it could be from something else, but drawn from a photograph, I'm pretty sure. And this, I recognize this face. I can't remember his name anymore, but he lived in my dorm at the boarding school. He was a senior. I think his father might have been the mayor of Miami at some point, if I'm remembering right. And I don't know if I drew this from a photograph of him or if he posed for our art class. I wish I could remember his name. It's a long time ago. And yeah, I probably just pulled this up out of my head, experimenting with drawing with a dry brush. This says 78, so I was reverting in 1978 to more comic booky stuff again. Kind of cool. I wonder if that was an imitation of something or if I just made that up myself. The beginnings of a painting that never got finished. I'm assuming this is 77 or 78. And a charcoal landscape. And the beginning of some kind of painting that never got very far at all. That must have been from a photograph. Huh. So that's it. Little dribs and drabs of whatever I was up to pseudo-creatively during those years. I guess it leaves me unsatisfied, but I want to, if this is all I did, which I don't think it's all I did, but I want to kind of go back and do more. Okay, well, thanks for those of you who plowed all the way through this. Thanks a lot for indulging me. And I hope you all are still enjoying your comics, and I'll talk to you later.